Hi there, another episode of Shorthanded in the Kitchen with Randy. Today we're going to make a simple 4-egg omelet. Once again, I want to reiterate, the idea here is to show how simple cooking can be for those with disabilities, one hand or two hands that don't work quite so well. So away we go. We're going to start with some green pepper. Opening these bags can be tough. You want to stand back here. You seen me do this the other day in the stir fry. Pretty much the same thing. Actually, this is what I really like to do, is cut the ends off so the thing will lay flatter for me. We end up with some bigger chunks, and I just slice them down. This way, cutting them into strips, that way we get little bite-sized pieces again. Before we get started on that, we have to make sure we turn our stove on. It's about 5. I like to use basil, olive oil, margarine. I do have extra virgin olive oil here, but I prefer to use this today. So we'll get started with that. A little bit of green pepper again. And like I said, this is just basically designed to show that even with one hand, an 85% working hand actually, cooking can be quite simple. As you can see, the room that I have to work with isn't very big, and I have a feeling that if I had 2 arms I'd need more space. But anyways, today we're going to start with a whole onion, which is a little trickier, and once again, my methods may be different than other people's methods, but I like to do it like that. Once you get, of course, a nice flat surface to work with, it becomes easier, right? It's going to stay in place. Just cut the ends off, like so. Get rid of all those little pieces of outside the onion, because those are nasty. Peel the top. There we go, pretty simple. And as you can hear, one of my 20-year-old cats wants her breakfast. Not really sure how much onion we're going to need today, being that it's just a 4-egg omelet. But once again, quite simple. If you have patience, I guess, is what we're looking for, the word we're looking for here. And the will. Being that I had to cook for my children on a regular basis, daily in fact, I got quite actually handy, pardon the pun, in the kitchen. Maybe we should have called that Randy being handy in the kitchen instead of shorthanded in the kitchen with Randy, but there we go. And that's just a start. You get these so that they render down a little bit. And once again, just showing the simplicity of it all, not really trying to show that I can do something better than anybody else, or that I'm showing off in any stretch of the imagination. I'm just trying to show how easy it is if you give it a chance. Once again, we're going to use this trusty can opener. This is an incredible little device for one-handed people or people who struggle with 2 hands. And again, we're using store-bought canned mushrooms. I find that if I buy fresh mushrooms, we use them once, and if we buy too many, we don't seem to use them again. Canned mushrooms don't spoil. So, just like before, we're going to drain them and add them to our mixture. And rinse the can out, because in this house, we recycle roughly, I'd say 90% of everything. And my friend, Ed, runs a recycling business, R3 Recycling. He comes right to my door and picks it up once a month. Thanks, Ed. And that looks like we have enough going right now to get this started. We're having some element troubles, and I believe my investigations have led that it could be the rheostat behind this switch here. The other day we tried to do an omelet and the pan went on medium heat to red hot and we burned the whole underside. So the next step will be getting the eggs ready in a little container. And just to show for people with one hand or two hands that don't work, I use a wet cloth on the bottom of the sink that holds my bowl. And we just merely crack the egg against the side of the sink. That way if I spill any, it doesn't go all over the floor, all over the counter. And if it does drip a little on the sink, well, it's in the sink. So, no yolk, right? Anyways, I don't want to bore everybody with this, but that's the way I crack eggs and reduce the mess while I'm cracking eggs. Pretty straightforward, I would think. And unfortunately, it looks like I have a teeny piece of shell. The phone's ringing in the background. But we're just going to ignore it for now because we're short-handed in the kitchen. We don't have enough hands to go grab the phone, and I do not have hands free. Anyhow, that's that. And as you can see, having the wet cloth on the bottom helps keep the bowl from sliding around and moving around on me. So we'll just quickly beat that up. Sometimes people like to add a little egg to make, or a little milk to their egg, sorry, to make it go a little further. This is just going to be a simple 4-egg omelet. I'm not going to add any milk. There you go, and as you can see, the bowl didn't move on me that much, it didn't slide around thanks to the wet cloth. We'll go back over here and check out what's happening. We've got this all frying up pretty good here for our simple 4-egg omelet. And like I said, I might be rushing through this because I don't want to bore people. I am trying to show a simplicity of cooking and try to help anybody who may have not wanted to attempt this on their own while they're living with a disability for fear that it might not turn out or they're going to burn themselves. As you can clearly see, what I've demonstrated is trying to be helpful. So, that taken into consideration, I like to pour this in slowly. Normally I would let the vegetables and whatnot fry a little bit more, but still learning about the filming process and trying to be helpful without being boring. So here we go. I like to go slow so that it has a chance to form that little crust on the bottom. Alrighty then. So stay with me for a couple seconds. We're going to grab a lid out of my trusty container here, drawer I guess we'll call it, or cupboard, that's what it is. It's a cupboard. Quickly give my cutting board a wipe because I want to cut some cheese, pardon the pun. Cut some cheese on it. There's soap in here. Soap in here. Give it a quick wipe. I tend to get lazy and not use the shredder, mostly because if I'm by myself it's too many more dishes to wash. And really you don't need to. If you cut the cheese thinly enough, pardon me, but cut the cheese. Anyways, we're not cutting the cheese that way, we're just going to cut the cheese. And I usually like to cut it into fairly thin pieces and just lay it into my omelet. Let's get rid of it, make it square it up a little bit so it's easier to cut. Cut it fairly thin. There you go, fairly thin. You see, that's a fairly thin slice. And what I'll do is I'll just lay it into the omelet, and as the omelet continues to cook, the cheese will melt. That's a little bit too thin. Whoops, that's just paper thin. There we go. So, like I said, it's cooking pretty fast. I'm gonna turn this down in case my element does that thing where it turns red hot on me again without me turning it up. I believe it's a rheostat problem. I'm not sure. I have an electrician buddy that'll probably help me figure it out. Or I may try to solve the problem myself. And again, that would be another episode of Shorthanded in the Kitchen with Randy, and we'd be fixing the stove. There we go. And the reason I'm only putting it on one side is because my intention is to flip this over.